Hi, good to see everyone again. So it's been a while since my last video, and as promised, I'm going to start a new series on what it's like interning in the UK and in different kinds of divisions in different parts of banks, technology companies, and so on. So I thought a really good way to kick it off would be to start with some of the internships that I've done in the past. And I know many people have asked me a question about, about internships, about what it's like to be doing that, what is your day-to-day life like, how can I get them, and so on. And a lot of these things you often hear about, but to be honest, only once you've actually gone to these places and actually done the internship or had the experience, there are a few things here and there which people would really like to know. And I thought I would share my experiences with you guys in different companies and different divisions. So for this video, I wanted to start talking about my internship, which I started 2 years ago. And this was in Bank of America, working in the technology division. So even though it might not be the very specific area you're looking for, it should give you a good idea about what a technology internship is like at any investment bank. So with that said, let's get on into the video. So just to give you a little bit of background to my journey. So I'd applied for an internship in my second year of university. I hadn't gone during my first year because my first year I thought I wanted to do my own projects and build up some more experience so that in the second year I could really go for it. So in the second year I applied to a bunch of different places and I wanted to find out more about the banking industry. So as a result, I applied to a few places and Bank of America seemed the best choice for me to go. And that's where I spent my summer during the second year for about 10 weeks. So there's a few things people like to know. So I think the best way to do this is I'll take it from the top and just step you through some of the stuff that I did there, how I found it, give you a little bit more information about salary. A lot of people are interested in how you're paid in these internships and so on. So I'll shed a bit of light on everything there. So in terms of my applications, I applied online. It's usually good to start quite early. I'd say apply around September to November, and to be honest, if you can do it even earlier than that, as soon as the application opens, you should go for it. In terms of where to find these things, if you go to the website and you go to the career section, they'll have all the dates for the internships listed for you, and as soon as it's open for technology, you should go for it. Across all the banks, they don't really tend to split up the technology into different roles and different types of technology. It is all under one umbrella of technology, so it's worth it for you to just go for technology and find that. So anyways, I had applied online after I'd done this. For the application, you often have to write a bunch of short paragraph answers. It's nothing much, it's about 3 to 5 lines or something. And they have 3 such questions where it's like, tell me about a time you did this kind of project, tell me a time you showed leadership, and all the usual kind of stuff. And it's usually just there to weed people out because a lot of people, these applications themselves feel quite long and a lot of people just don't finish it. So part of the process of cutting down people is actually the very first stage of having a long application. And it does take a while to fill out, but just persist with it. When it comes to your 3 paragraphs, just make sure you write something interesting, something relevant, and all the usual stuff. Apart from that, once you finish this stage, normally you're automatically going to be sitting an online test, and these are usually numerical, deductive reasoning, some English ones, but to be honest, they're always changing all the time. So sometimes you have to watch a video and give your responses, sometimes you have to do some maths, sometimes you have to say, how would you respond in a situation? So this is known as situational judgment tests. And after this, you might have a phone call where they, give you a bit of a technical interview, give you a little bit of, finding out what you're like. And then after that, you'll be invited to an assessment center. And the assessment center is basically a bunch of different interviews, a bunch of different exercises, where they just try and gauge whether you're a good fit for the company or not. So this is fairly standard across all the banks. So after you've done all these interviews and all these tests, you normally find out within a few days of having had your assessment center. So I actually found out pretty much 3 days after I did it, and you'll know if it's successful or not straight away on the phone. They give you some feedback and they let you know how you've done. So there's thousands of people who apply, and at each stage this gets cut down. So the applications online cut you down, the online tests cut quite a few people out, and the ACs are normally about batches of 20 people each. So there's a couple of batches, and each batch has about 20 people. And they don't have like a set quota of like, I need this many people from this batch or this many people from this batch. If everyone is good from a batch, they'll take everyone. So, don't worry about you're competing with other people or not. I know it sounds like a cliche, but the only person you're competing with is yourself. So just make sure you know what's going to happen. So just in terms of some ideas about what's in the assessment center, I'll do a whole video on going through the application, but just a really quick rundown. You normally have 2 or 3 interviews, some technical interviews, some interviews about yourself. You have a group exercise where you kind of show your leadership and how good you are at communication. And often you have like a case study. So this is usually kind of stuff you'll be doing. Sometimes you might have another numerical test or something like that just to make sure that everything you did was fine. But apart from that, that's pretty much a rundown on your application process. So the next thing I'd like to let you know is, where was the office located? So during the time I did it 2 years ago, they have one main office where you have technology, and this is literally a 2-minute walk from St. Paul Station. And opposite this main office, if you cross the road, they have another office where they do some more of the technology work. So your work is usually spread across 2 main offices. So apart from that, what was the first week of the internship like? What was the internship experience like? So at the beginning of your internship, the whole internship lasts a total of 10 weeks, of which the first week is your training period. And now during this training period, and also you have your training is paid as well, so your whole 10 weeks are paid, including the training period. And often during this time, you do stuff like you have group activities, and you just have some team building exercises to build up more of your skills and what you understand. They give you lunch and everything during this time, so you don't need to go out and get your own stuff. The training is specifically over lots of like financial terms, understanding some of the basic financial things that you need to know, because obviously as a bank and you're working in the finance industry, so a lot of people in technology might not have a background in finance or have some ideas. So the idea of this training is to take everyone up to the same level. So if you're ever thinking that I haven't done any finance, I can't apply for technology in a bank, that's not true at all. Like, a lot of the people who actually come there don't know much about finance, and they might have learned a bit for the interview or have done a bit here and there, but the training was quite good in terms of bringing everyone up to speed. And apart from that, there's some training on technology, so some of the methods they use to work in technology in a corporate world. So you might be used to it in university, but there are some agile practices, different ways you work in a bank, and all that kind of stuff, which they teach you on the training course. So overall, it's a good training period. You get to learn quite a lot. You do have to come in quite early sometimes, and it does last the whole day. You have some talks and stuff like that. And it was good overall, I thought. Mainly it was for me to meet my friends and meet some new people who I'd keep in touch with for the rest of the course. And yeah, apart from that, there was also some training on like speaking and presentation, because when you're in a bank, sometimes you have to lead some meetings, you might have to meet some clients and stuff like that. So knowing how to conduct yourself, knowing how to speak is a really valuable skill. So apart from that, the part that I think most of you will be most interested in is, what is a typical day like? And to be honest, a typical day can vary a lot between the person, the manager that you get, the team that you're in, and the kind of job that you're doing. So technology, like I said before, is an umbrella term, but within technology, there are lots of different types of jobs you could be doing. So the experience you might have with your manager in your job could be completely different to, someone else's experience. So when you hear someone who says, I didn't have a great experience, I didn't have a best time, or I might have an amazing time, take everything with a pinch of salt and just try to understand that everyone is coming from a different place. And just because someone had a certain experience does not mean you would have the same experience. So that goes for both being good and bad. So with that in mind, let's go into what a typical day for me was like. So I would normally come in around 8:30 to 9 a.m. to the St. Paul's office, and my team was myself, 5 other people. 3 of them were testers, 2 of them were developers, and also including my manager. So with my team, we'd have a daily Scrum meeting, and this was where we'd all meet each other in the morning and just talk about what we did during the last day, what we're going to do today, and what we plan to do later on. So it's kind of just like a quick progress check for everyone, just so everyone knows where they're coming from and we're on the same page. And after this only lasts about 10 minutes, and everyone gets on with their jobs. So normally we were hot desking. So it depends on, some teams will have specific places for you to sit within the team. Sometimes you have to hot desk, so there's a little bit of competition over which chairs people get, where you get seated. So you might not be sitting in the same place every day, but you'll still be within the same area of your team, just not the exact same desk every time. Apart from that, I'll check my schedule for the day, so I'll see what meetings I've got, what catch-ups I need to do, any events that I've got going on. And after that, there are some intern events that we have within the 10 weeks. So we have speakers, we have people from the bank there, we have some well-being talks, and these are just peppered throughout your 10 weeks just to break it up and give you a little bit more idea about what the bank is like, because 10 weeks can go by quite fast, especially when it's your first experience and you don't know what to expect. Apart from this, like I've said before, it is really project dependent. So a lot of the time I spent like coding and developing, because my role was a developer. But for a lot of people, sometimes they got a BA role. So just to give you some context, BA role is a business analyst, and a dev is your developer. The developers usually spend more time coding, and the BAs tend to have to look at the requirements that developers need from the business and the developer side, and they act as an intermediary between the two. So, the jobs can be quite different. It's important to know what each person's doing. So, a BA needs to understand what the dev's doing, the dev needs to know what the BA is doing, but, it's a whole team like that together. So I was doing development. For a while I did some QA testing, for a while I did some coding, and pretty much, to be honest, that was my day spent on my project. Obviously, I can't go into my project in detail because a lot of things you learn when you're working at the bank, a lot of things you can't share too much. But it was a good project in terms of development. Apart from that, a lot of my time, to be honest, was fixing bugs and a lot of asking questions. Like one of the famous things are in the bank, or to be honest, anywhere that you'll start working, setting up your work can take a long time. Getting access to things, especially in a corporate environment, the simplest of things like getting access to Python, getting access to Java, getting access to an IDE, getting access to really basic programs. You have to request a lot of this stuff and they have to be approved. You have to chase up people and stuff like that. So, that can take 2, 3, 4 weeks even sometimes. So that's why it really depends. This is something new, for a lot of people that they don't expect. You think, I get on my desk on day one and I start coding. In reality, a lot of it is you have to ask people a lot of questions. You don't know anything about what's going on. You have to get familiar with the team. And this stuff does take time. So if you're stressed in your first few weeks and you're not really doing much, but you're trying, don't worry. Everyone's in the same boat. Just don't be scared to ask a ton of questions. Whatever you need, just ask questions. And that's probably one of the best pieces of advice I can give you. But apart from that, don't be afraid to speak up. And if you do that, it will save you a lot of time. Often you can spend days on a problem that someone else knows how to fix and they can fix it for you in a matter of minutes. So that was pretty much what my day was like. I normally have catch-ups with my mentors, which I was assigned, and my buddies, which I'll get onto later. And apart from that, at the end of my day, at around 5, 6 o'clock, when I finish coding, I finish testing stuff. I've been at my desk for a while. I'll let my manager know what I did, what I plan to do for the next day, and then I head home. Or we catch up with the other interns. Just depends on how my days went and how tired I am. But in terms of how I felt, you're pretty much at your desk most of the day, apart from your meetings and your catch-ups. And depending on how intense your job might be, if you're developing, you might be stuck on your desk a little bit longer. If you're a BA, you might be in and out of meetings a lot. So it really does depend on what kind of role you have there. So, if you do prefer being a BA or dev, you should speak up to your HR when you're applying, and they might be able to place you in the role that suits you more. So let's go on to the part that most of you will be very interested in, and that's the salary. So like I said before, it was a 10-week internship where the first week was training, and that's also paid. So people wonder, am I paid monthly? Am I paid, how am I paid weekly, monthly, and so on. So in terms of the salary, the first thing you should know is just apart from your salary, you're paid a £1,000 usually relocation bonus, and this is usually paid for by most banks when you're interning. And this is usually just an amount to help, if you're having to move places just to get to the work, if you have to pay for, travel costs and whatever costs you have. And then the 1K relocation on top of your salary, they're just nice to have because, you can spend it on whatever you want. There's no restrictions on what you can do with it. It's just 1,000, here you go, and that's it. Apart from that, you're roughly earning about £1,000 per week. So over the 10 weeks, you're earning about 9 to 10K for your time there, which is, for a student or a summer, is great. If you're a home student in the UK, you can probably pay off your whole tuition fee with it. And, as a university student, that's a big chunk of money to be having for 10 weeks of time. So, that's pretty good. And you are working quite a long time. You're working 9 to 5, Monday to Friday for 10 weeks. So it's a good salary to be getting. You're paid basically the same salary that most analysts would get if they're working there full time. So it sounds great so far. You've got 10K pretty much from your salary, plus a 1K relocation bonus. So that gives you roughly about 10 to 11K. However, what you need to make sure, and this is something that students, when they see the first time, they're like, wow, what happened? I got so much money, and why is so little coming to my pocket compared to how much I got? And this is because you lose out money to income tax and you lose money to national insurance. So when it comes to national insurance, you will lose roughly 1K of your salary from your 11K that you're earning, and this is money that you cannot claim back. So this is just money that, comes in your pocket and immediately leaves and goes straight to government. Apart from that, you will get some income tax on your salary as well. And this is also roughly, 900, to 1K. And this is an income tax that you can actually claim back. So as long as you're earning, I think, under 12K a year, which is within the threshold of your salary that you're getting from your internship, provided you haven't done any other jobs, then any of your income tax, which you have, had to pay from your salary, you can actually claim that back pretty much after your internship's done. If you don't do that, they normally automatically do it for you in April or next year. But as soon as your internship is done, you can usually claim with the government and get your money back. So in total, the amount you're paid is about 9 to 10K after everything's taken out, and you've also claimed back your money, which is, it's a great amount of money to have. And if you have an internship each year, in your second year and your third year, it's a nice amount of money to have, and yeah, do what you want with it. So apart from that, during my internship, what support did I have there? Obviously, for a lot of people, this is very new for us because we haven't been in a financial world, we haven't been in a corporate environment, we haven't even been in a desk job before. This is usually our first experience of it. And there's a lot of support they usually give you. HR is always open, so you can talk to them whenever you want, give them any problems you have, and they will often try and solve it for you since it's in everyone's best interests. And you're usually given a buddy and a mentor. So a buddy is usually someone who's a graduate now, who's been an intern last year, and a mentor is usually someone much more senior. It might be a VP, or it might be a director if you're lucky, but these are people who kind of guide you through a career and give you a bit more of a chat about what is the time here like, what should you be looking out for. You can have a bit more of like a career-based chat with them, or just let them know what you're doing over coffee. And your buddy is there a bit more to give you a bit more of a relatable experience. Like, I've been there, I've done that. You can just tell them about your day, tell them any problems you're having, and they're just there for you to chat. And both of them, your buddy and your mentor, can help you out with any problems that you have. So apart from that, how are you actually evaluated on your time there? Obviously, having the internships all good, but at the end of the day, it's an interview between you and the bank, where you're interviewing the bank, but the bank's also interviewing you, and you're both trying to figure out if there's a good match for you. Would you like to work there or not? So despite all the stuff you do, they need to have some protocols for how they evaluate you. And the way they usually do this is they set performance targets. So they will tell you that you need to, meet these 5 targets which you will have set at the start of your rotation. So at the beginning of your rotation, you will say to your manager, look, these are the 5 things I'm going to be doing, and over your 10 weeks, you're going to try and work away at those. And at the end, your manager will give you feedback on your professionalism, how well you worked, and how well you met these targets. So these performance targets are usually quite important, and so that's why make sure you set realistic targets which aren't too easy but aren't too difficult, because this is what you're normally assessed against. And it also depends on your manager, because some managers can understand you've done more work or less, and sometimes you might have done a lot of work, but it might not align with the performance targets. And if your manager is not the kind of one who understands it, then it might land you in a little bit of a sticky situation. So just be careful with setting your performance targets. And normally they look at professionalism, conduct, the value delivered, the proactiveness you had with the team, how much you tried. And at the end of the day, all of it is really just about the impression that you've made, and are you a suitable member of the team, and do they think that you'd be a good fit within the team. Sometimes, and don't worry too much about how it goes at the end, sometimes it might be that you're not the perfect fit for a certain team, but you might be better suited for another team, and so on. So I've seen a lot of people get discouraged when they don't get an offer, thinking, I'm a fit into the team, will I fit into any team? And to be honest, think of different teams as like an amalgamated like personality. So the whole team has a way of working, and it just depends on how good you are at fitting in this team. And to be honest, if you get your offer back, usually you won't even come back in the same team. So don't worry about having a bad experience in one team, or having too good experience in one team and thinking, will I get this next time or not? Because it changes all the time. So apart from that, on the last day, what happens is when you get your feedback is you come in and you just come in for your results. You have like a 10-minute slot, and you will only come in for this 10-minute slot. They'll give you feedback on all these things that I mentioned above and how you're evaluated, and then they'll basically tell you whether you have the offer or not. So either you have the offer and have your letter in the envelope, or you don't, and there is just your tax return in the envelope. And you will only find out in the interview how you've done, and it's just a good way for you to find out, what could you have done better? Even if you got the offer, even if you didn't, just find out, what did I do well, what could I have done better, and use it as a good chance to learn more about your time there. And apart from that, you have to leave straight after that. So they take your pass, and out the building you go. If you haven't got the offer, it's been a good experience. If you have, you'll be coming back the next summer if you choose to accept. So that's just kind of how your time there goes. Now, apart from that, if I had to give you my thoughts on the internship, I would say it really depends on the manager and the team that you get. Because normally people form an impression of a company literally just based on that one experience, and obviously it makes sense because you've had this experience, you're related to your time at the company. But it really does depend on the manager you get and the team that you get. So as long as you're working hard, you're making sure you're doing all the right things, you're asking the right questions, don't get too down if you've got a difficult team and a difficult manager, because that's all part of corporate life and learning. And that's probably one of the biggest things that I learned there. I had a pretty okay manager, nothing too much, nothing too little, but I thought it wasn't the most exciting time for myself. I did a bit of coding, a bit of development, but some other people I knew didn't have like projects to do and couldn't finish, and they were just left alone by their managers. Other people had really like hard taskmasters, and those managers were on their tails all the time, like, do this, do that, do this, and some enjoyed it and some didn't. So to be honest, it's a mix of how your outlook on stuff is and how your manager is and how well these two things can meet together. But as long as you work hard and you work smart and you know what you're doing around the bank, then it will really help you out in terms of navigating through there. So apart from that, there's a few things which I've discussed today which you might like to know more about. How can I do well on my internship? How can I impress on my internship? How can I make sure I get that return offer? Because if you get the return offer, it's great because in your final year of university, okay, I'm going to graduate and I have a job lined up, and you do not have to stress about that at all. And that's a really nice thing to have, especially because banking salaries are usually quite high. They're between 40 to 50k, and for a starting job at RIF University in technology, that's pretty nice for a lot of people. And it's also 9 to 5 usually, so you don't need to worry too much about work-life balance because all of that's there. So I'll give a few more videos coming up in the next few weeks about preparing your application for investment banks, how to get over these tests and hurdles, because before you have your internship or your grad role, you need to get in, how to do well once you've gotten in, and so on. So any questions that you have which I haven't covered here, you can ask me in the comments below. Feel free to contact me. I've got all my links down in the description, and I'll get back to you. So I hope this video has given you a little bit of an idea as to what it's like working in an investment bank, and a bit more about how your 10 weeks are structured and what you can expect. And I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.